for joining us once more. Remember, our topic today is the inflation and the value of the Kenyan shilling. And Dr. Faizen, when during Kibaki's era, the value of the shilling was higher as compared to Uhuru's era. What is this that Kibaki did and Uhuru is not doing?
You know, previously, when we were talking about external debt in the other program, we were looking at the impact of that, the economy. And it was not only about the economy, we were talking about the shilling itself. Now, if you look at the Kibaki's time, and you look at from 2010, you find that the external debt that was increasing was lower than what it is now. For example, 2010, it was only 11 billion. And if you check, if I'm not wrong, the shilling was around 70, hovering around there. As we go, then come 2011, it came 29, and now when it hit 2013 after Kibaki had left, the debt skyrocketed to 106 billion. And that is where the problem, when the shilling started sliding. So it is about the debt we have. Because when you have a big debt and you are supposed to pay, it is a big, big problem for the country. That's why we are saying, unless we control the debt, our shilling will continue sliding down. Because we are, any dollar that we are getting, instead of using it here, we are paying the debt. And therefore we end up not having enough dollars to cushion our shilling. That is why. But during Kibaki's time, the debt was smaller than compared from 2013.
I think just to add on what Dr. Alia said, as you look at it, that increment alone of 100 billion, 200 billion, there are other softer issues. If you look at the Uhuru era, we have total disarray of actually security. And to me, that can really chase away so many investors. You have the shilling just depreciating. Look at the economy, the way the indicators. When Kibaki was in power, you'll have the economy was actually moving high. It was actually good, but compared to now, it's actually not. It is starting, but it is not to grow. So the issues which I want to raise is one, security reservoir was not there during the Kibaki era. Look at the way we are actually being messed up. Who will invest in such a nation? Of course, there are promises, but let us look at the tangible ones so that we can be able to really, that consequence alone is now what we are seeing as the change on the spiral of the effects of what is happening. The other issue is that the infrastructure which was laid down by the Kibaki era was so, you look at the ones which are being completed now, per se, were actually started by Kibaki, and that one was attracting the investors in the country. And presumably, if that continues, it can be able to attract more. So I think what Dr. Alia said is true, and it really increase of the debt, insecurities, and all those can be able to have the effect of that. Thank you.
I think what I want to add is that the Kibaki era re-established financial discipline. The Kibaki era re-established stability in the country, and which in part really enhanced donor confidence, the confidence of investors in the country. And so what happened is that these translated into rapid economic growth, as was demonstrated in the rate of growth that reached, I think, about 7%. Now that meant that there was an increase in the amount of goods that were in circulation, that that changed the hands, in the sense now that the Kenyan shilling remained fairly stable because the goods that people were purchasing were on the increase. We'd said earlier that inflation is brought about when the amount of money that remains fairly static is chasing too few goods, and that this brings about the desire to increase the amount of money in circulation, which leads to inflation. So during the Kibaki era, the Kenyan shilling remained fairly stable.
I think to add on what Professor said and other issues, you look at what Kibaki did in terms of, he was the one who received and said the 2010 constitution. He is the one who midwifed the constitution of 2010. But the implementer is now the one who is to pay the cost of it. Look at the cost. The expenditure of devolution is so high that now this is the era of Uhuru. The other ones were midwifing of the constitution, so positive to the country. But now the implementer, who is to pay the cost in terms of getting the money, ensuring that there is money, there is expenditure to be used in the 47 counties, is actually the Uhuru era. And that is why you find that you have the shilling actually going down. So to me, it's actually there was good positive in terms of constitution actually changing, investors came in. Implementer, Uhuru. Now in the Uhuru era, he has to spend. Thank you. Hence he has to borrow.
So a lot of what we are borrowing seems to go towards recurrent by paying people salaries, and rather than going into capital expenditure where we can say we are now investing in activities that can be able to produce goods and services that will be able to earn money for this country.
Dr. Saisi, speaking of the Kenyan shilling depreciating very fast, what are these remedies that can be quickly used to stop these so that the value of the Kenyan shilling can increase?
I think one or two things I can say that if they are put in place, things will work well. One, checking our debt, external debt. We need to live, and again I've said we need to live within our means. If we check our foreign debt, we shall be okay. We can borrow, but let us invest so that that money can be productive. That is number one. If we don't check on that, we shall be in problem. Number two, we should talk about industrialization. We should be able to bring in more foreign direct investment to this country so that we can produce more what we call GDP can be able to grow. Otherwise, if we cannot domestically grow the economy, our shilling will not be strong. And therefore, let us first of all be able to borrow wisely, prudently, and number two, let us look at how best we can expand our investment in this country so that we can produce more than what we are doing.
I think to add on what Dr. said, there is a need for the government or the economy to actually increase its revenue. As far as is collecting, the money is collecting, if there is a way where it can look at it so that they can be able to export more and then they earn more from exports, then it will be able to make the shilling to be able to be stable. The other thing is, of course, reducing expenses. That is another way of cutting all, apart from borrowing. If you don't borrow, reduce the expenses, borrow less and then spend less. If that can be done, and we are saying that you spend less where you cut cost, where there is necessary. I saw in the other regime when they actually purchased the vehicles they were purchasing, the CCs, the fuel engine actually was lower so that it can consume less. So if the economy that can be able to spend less, it can be able to control the shilling. Thank you.
I want to add that we need to enhance transparency and accountability in governance, because that will enable the country to empower the central bank, because the buck, I think, rests with the central bank. It is the central bank that ought to advise very prudently the ways and means by which our currency can be stabilized. take into account the dynamics of internal economy and also the dynamics of our relations with the external economic system.
Gentlemen, as we wind up, can we have your final comments? Mr. Richard?
One, the comment is that respective governments should ensure that the shilling is strong and stable, so that it can spur the economic growth, or it cannot be able to have an pinching the citizens in terms of paying highly and all that. So the governments, the respective governments, should ensure that the shilling is strong and stable. Thank you.
Sure, Professor.
The comment I want to make is the shilling, or rather money, is the oil with which the engine of economic growth is oiled. And if we do not put in enough oil, our economy will start squeaking. If we put too much oil, there will be an overflow. So we need to be very careful and balance the various variables, so that we keep our finances on an even keel.
Yeah, for me, I look at security of this country as one of those things that needs to be stabilized, and then we look at the foreign direct investments out there to come and invest, so that we can the economy can be vibrant, and when it is vibrant, we know we can export more, and when we export more, we shall get more foreign money coming in the country, hence cushioning our Kenya shilling. Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for keeping it Kenya Television Services. This has been the program, The Economic Trend Pointer. I'm your host, Immaculate Burunja, and with me has been Mr. Richard Siave, a lecturer at Moi University in the Department of Economics, Professor Peter Mbege, a professor of history in the Department of History, Political Science and Public Administration, Dr. Patrick Saisi, HOD Department of Economics, Moi University. Thank you very much. Until next time, see you same place, same time.
All models in economics are talking about money. It is only how that money is.
The way we have been paying our debt has really been increasing with figures as we go along.
And we borrow to pay, which means that we find ourselves and our country in a situation of perpetual dependency.